She Who Awakens by Alina Chamberlain. The Pathology of Stress Incontinence. Sphincter autonomy, structural tone, and pelvic integrity. Among the silent burdens that alter a woman's quality of life and suppress her intrinsic orgasmic vitality, stress urinary incontinence is one of the most psychologically taxing and socially restrictive conditions. It weaves a persistent thread of background anxiety into a woman's daily routine, forcing a constant reliance on panty liners and imposing a deep, silent discomfort. In many instances, this condition disrupts or even threatens a woman's professional life. It is particularly devastating for fitness coaches, trainers, athletes, and performers whose daily routines require physical exertion, jumping, or heavy lifting. Experiencing sudden dampness during a session can erode personal confidence and jeopardize financial security. However, intimate gymnastics serves as a powerful therapeutic method capable of reversing this dynamic, guiding the superficial pelvic musculature back to its optimal functional tone. The biomechanics of failure, why leaking occurs. In a structurally sound pelvis, the three primary pelvic portals, the urethra, the vagina, and the rectum, are enveloped by healthy, elastic skeletal sphincters. These structures operate as secure, watertight gateways designed to maintain systemic closure until a woman consciously decides to relax them. The primary guardian of urinary continence is the bulbospongiosus muscle, which forms a vital part of the superficial layer of the pelvic floor. This muscle anatomically loops around the vaginal introitus and the base of the clitoris, directly lending its fibers to form the external urethral sphincter mechanism. When a woman falls into a sedentary lifestyle, experiences childbirth trauma, or suffers from chronic downward intra-abdominal pressure, the bulbospongiosus muscle undergoes severe hypotonic atrophy. As these muscle fibers thin and lose their resting tone, the urethral sphincter becomes weak and loose. Consequently, whenever a sudden, sharp increase in intra-abdominal pressure occurs, such as during a sneeze, a cough, a laugh, a jump, or a sprint, a downward pressure wave is generated. Because the weakened sphincter cannot provide enough resistance to counteract this sudden force, the urethral lumen is mechanically forced open, resulting in an involuntary leakage of urine, intact pelvic tone, abdominal pressure, and bulbospongiosus muscle, strong contraction, urethral sphincter closes, secure and dry. Difference: deficient pelvic tone, abdominal pressure, and bulbospongiosus muscle. Weak atrophied urethral sphincter fails. Involuntary leakage. The target isolation protocol for stress urinary incontinence recovery. When training to overcome stress incontinence, a foundational rule must be understood. You must continue to execute the entire daily intimate gymnastics regimen. The pelvic floor functions as an integrated, unified system, and holistic balance is required. However, because you are actively addressing sphincter failure, you must deliberately shift your mental focus and apply precision targeting to two crucial areas of your practice. 1. The traffic light exercise for muscular separation. The single greatest obstacle to resolving incontinence is a lack of motor control, where a woman cannot sense her superficial muscles. When asked to engage the pelvic floor, most beginners default to a global squeeze, tensing the glutes, the inner thighs, the abdominal wall, or the deep levator ani, while the superficial layer remains completely inert. The traffic light exercise is designed to break these unconscious compensation patterns by forcing the brain to separate the pelvic floor into three distinct, isolated zones. The anterior zone, red light, isolating the clitoral bulb and the urethral sphincter. The central zone, yellow light, contracting the vaginal entrance. The posterior zone, green light, engaging the anal sphincter. By mastering this separation, you stop wasting energy on non-target muscles and gain the ability to route the neural commands directly to where the weakness lives. 2. Targeted stimulation of the bulbospongiosus muscle. Once you can accurately separate these zones, your training focuses intensely on rebuilding the fast twitch and slow twitch fibers of the bulbospongiosus muscle. You are training this muscle to establish a firm, reliable lower lock capable of reflexively springing into a firm contraction the exact millisecond an intra-abdominal spike occurs, ensuring the urethra remains sealed. Timelines, breakthroughs, and troubleshooting. The speed at which your sphincter mechanism regains its holding capacity is determined entirely by your baseline muscular atrophy, local nerve density, and consistency of practice. Urethral sphincter restoration timeline: 10 days. Neuromuscular awakening, rapid resolution of mild stress urinary incontinence. 2 to 3 weeks. Structural rehabilitation, dramatic reduction in leakage cases. 1 month and more. Autonomic mastery, complete dry structural integrity. Clinical experience shows a wide variation in recovery speeds, though breakthroughs are often rapid. Women who have managed severe stress urinary incontinence for over 5 consecutive years frequently report a complete cessation of leaking after just 10 days of accurate, isolated bulbospongiosis training. For others, structural tissue remodeling takes slightly longer, yielding definitive results within 2 to 3 weeks, or up to a month of steady discipline. The ultimate diagnostic marker. At the beginning of this journey, a simple diagnostic test is used to assess baseline function, attempting to stop the flow of urine midstream during urination. In the early stages, most women find they cannot alter the stream at all. The muscle is essentially blind to the nervous system, and the fluid continues to flow unchecked. However, as the weeks of targeted training progress, the learning curve gives way to celebration. Women consistently discover that they can instantly halt the stream using focused mental intent alone. This shift confirms that the cortical pathways between the brain and the urethral sphincter have been successfully restored. Clinical Troubleshooting Guide. If you have been practicing diligently for weeks but continue to experience leaking when you cough, jump, or laugh, do not get discouraged. This lack of progress is a clear indicator of a technical isolation error. You must pause and ask yourself a critical question. Am I truly engaging the target muscle? Most likely, you have not yet successfully isolated the superficial bulbospongiosus muscle and are instead over-tensing your deep levator ani, or bracing with your abdominals, which actually pushes the organs downward. Slow down your practice, return to the foundational steps of the traffic light exercise, and redirect your entire focus to the anterior urethral zone until the correct muscle awakens. Discover the secrets to nurturing your lifestyle and love style at Wish for Love. The electronic version of all chapters from the full book She WHO Awakens by Alina Chamberlain can be found at wishforlove.org.